Well, a little earlier, I spoke to the Israeli Prime Minister's spokesman, Mark Regev. I asked him why his government was opposing the deal when the Iranians had made significant concessions.
It's being presented that Iran has taken steps in the right direction, so to speak, and now the international community is supporting those Iranian steps by giving limited sanctions relief. I would reject that equation. I think, first of all, if you actually look to see what the Iranians are giving, they're in no way undermining their nuclear program. They haven't in any way taken steps that take their program backwards. On the contrary, this agreement allows them to maintain their status as a threshold nuclear power.
Well, that's just not true, is it?
With the ability,
the threshold is being reduced. This is freezing the program, and it is buying time.
I don't think if they're continuing to enrich uranium, you can say that it's freezing the program. Those centrifuges in Iran continue to spin. Their heavy water reactor, the one that will produce ultimately plutonium, they are not dismantling that. Now, we think that the problem here is that for very cosmetic steps that can easily be reversed on the Iranian side, what are they getting in return? They're getting a few $1 billion in sanctions relief, but what's the problem with that? It's like a hole in your tire, a small hole, but ultimately the tire becomes a complete flat. We see the sanction regime, which took years to put in place, we see that slowly but surely imploding.
And
once you don't have the pressure...
Sorry to interrupt you, but what is the alternative here?
The Iranians say they want a nuclear program purely for peaceful purposes. So we say, fine, you can have nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, as do another 20 countries on this planet, but you don't need enrichment and you don't need a plutonium-producing nuclear reactor. And we think on those issues...
Isn't this a rather hypocritical position for Israel to take? You are the only country in the Middle East with a nuclear program. I mean, at least Iran are negotiating on theirs.
Look, Iran has signed the NPT, and the people from the IAEA said that they have all the time been, unfortunately, not being honest about their NPT signature, that they've had this illicit program all along.
The British Foreign Secretary says Iran has made many concessions and in return has only had a fraction of the money of sanctions being returned to them. Why can't you agree this?
Because I would reject that equation. I mean, by this first step, by relieving all the pressure on Iran, by easing the sanctions, by limiting the pressure, the Iranians have no motivation whatsoever, 6 months now from now, to actually do the heavy lifting, to actually take the concrete steps to dismantle their program, because the pressure is now being eased. Why would they actually take those tough decisions 6 months from now?
But do you accept you're isolated now?
I don't feel isolated. I just said our Arab neighbours agree with us. We have people in Europe who agree with us. I think history will also bear us out, unfortunately. I'd like to believe this was a good deal. That'd be very comfortable for me. But on the contrary, we've got that North Korea example staring us in the face. Everyone was celebrating the deal, and in the end they got the bomb. And that appears exactly to us.
Mr. Regev, thank you very much for joining us. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you.